Hi guys, MrRoflWaffles here. This is a list of marathon tips that are going to save you time in the game, prevent you from dying to those annoying UESC bots, and help you extract with much more backpack value every single run. So drop a like on the video if you're ready to go, and we'll get started. To begin with, are you using shields wrong in marathon? There's actually a good chance you might be, because a lot of people are not aware of the attributes that shields can have. So if we look at a normal green shield, it's got 2 pips on the shield bar, and that means you would need 2 depleted shield charges to charge it up, or you could use a full shield charge. However, there are also some green shields which look like this. It's only got 1 pip on the bar, and that means that 1 depleted charge will get you back to full shield, which obviously makes healing back up so much more efficient, and the name for these are reinforced shields. And to find where that's listed, you need to look here in the shield's attributes. Next, speaking of shields, the UESC bots that pull shields up in front of them to protect them from damage can be really annoying bullet sponges, but there is a solution to this that gets rid of that shield immediately. What you need to do is look on the shield for the little hole, it's a little square, where the gun pokes out and the bot's hand is just behind it. And if you shoot into that hand hole, the shield will instantly break, and you'll then be able to just do full damage to the bot standing behind. Next, if you watched my 20 Things Marathon Doesn't Tell You video, you'd already know that Thief can see inside lockboxes with her visor ability before you open them. But I've got a kind of 2-in-1 tip for you here regarding finding the lockboxes themselves and finding keys. So first of all, if you don't know where the lockboxes are located on the map, you should be looking for the flare buildings. These indicate that lockboxes are nearby, and they will change game to game, but there is a total number of flare spawns on each map, so always look out for the flares, and then you'll be able to go find the lockboxes. Now, in terms of getting keys, you can get these from the world, and we'll talk about that in a moment as well, but there's actually a way to get these out of game too. You just need to go to the Syak skill tree and look for the locksmith node, and that will allow you to purchase keys directly and bring them into your runs. Next, you might have no idea that you're actually using vault weapons completely wrong, and so I'm going to run through a whole load of info about them here just to make sure that you are fully up to speed. So first off, they are amazing for taking down bots, and the reasons for this are they actually recharge their batteries over time, so you can burn through 80% of one of those vault batteries and then come back to it later and you'll have a full battery again. I believe the speed that they recharge at is increased when you sprint and generate heat on your character as well, I think. And ammo backpacks also recharge stowed vault weapon batteries faster. Now, alongside this, you should never reload your vault battery weapon unless you completely empty your magazine or you're about to get into a crazy gunfight. And the reason for this is that A, you'll be missing out on the fact that it could recharge itself, but B, every time you reload, you delete any leftover charge you had in your previous vault battery, and it doesn't carry over into your reserves or into the next battery. So with a normal light or heavy ammo-based weapon, if you've fired 2 out of 5 shots of your mag and you reload, then you just replenish the 2 that were missing. But with a vault battery, those 3 remaining shots that you had just get discarded when you reload. Also, I'm 90% sure on this one, but you guys can let me know in the comments if I'm right. I think vault cells, not vault batteries, build heat on targets each time you hit them, so that makes those a bit more attractive to use as well, because you can overheat your enemies a little more easily. Next, you might not be using your knife properly in Marathon, and there's actually some tech to this that you really want to integrate into your game. Number 1, you run the fastest with your knife out, so if you're covering long distances, you should always pull out your knife. You should also use your knife to melee tick nests and ticks if you want to evade enemies, because this will be much quieter and your gunfire will alert them if you start lighting up the place. Also, knifing bots is very good to do as well. You avoid making tons of noise, and you also can save a load of ammo. But there are a few things to be careful of here. First of all, if your heat meter is maxed out, your melees are going to be slower and they're going to do less damage, I believe. So ideally, if you're about to go into a knife fight with a bot, you make sure that you are not overheated first. Second, the best thing to do before you start boxing all the bots in the map is to go into the Arachne skill tree and upgrade the hard strike node, and that will mean that you do more melee damage. This will mean that if you use your heavy attack on right click on a base low level bot, you'll actually one hit kill it every single time. And if you upgrade further on that upgrade node, you can get it so that 2 heavy attacks will kill blue shielded bots, which is insanely powerful. But the melee tech goes even further, and I'm gonna have to talk about this in more videos, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on those marathon tips. But sometimes it's actually better to do light attacks, and other times heavy is better. This will depend on the cores you're using, and it also depends on the shell you're running as well, because different shells do different amounts of melee damage. So like I said, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss those tips when I post them in the future. Next, a constant struggle you'll have in Marathon is a lack of vault space. But there are a few ways that you can fix this and make your life easier. Number 1, you can upgrade your vault space via the Syac upgrade tree, and you can do this several times to unlock more and more space. But there are other, more sophisticated ways to deal with the issue. Number 1, you're going to get a ton of mods in this game, and some of those you're going to want to save for a rainy day. But while they're sitting in the vault, you could just put the mods on weapons that you're also storing, and that way the mods are no longer taking up loads of space in the vault because they're just sitting inside the blocks where the weapons are. And then when you want to use one of those mods, you can just rip them off and put them on the gun that you desire. Also, when you're going through all of the faction contract quests, you're going to get a ton of reward crates, and you're also going to get rewards from doing stuff in your codex as well. My recommendation is you only actually transfer these to your vault and claim them when you need them, because they will clutter your vault so fast, and if you leave them unclaimed, they'll just sit there as essentially free vault space just in another part of the menu. On top of all of these, I'm sure you've seen at this point that there are blue ammo crate items in this game that have loads of ammo inside, and another option that you could entertain is, rather than stacking loads and loads of ammo in your vault, you could just keep a couple of those blue ammo crates in there and then load in with one of those, and that will also take up less backpack space for you when you load in as well. So that kind of kills 2 binguses with 1 ammo crate. Or something. Now, speaking of loot and vault space and all that stuff, let's talk a little bit about looting. So first of all, did you know there's a toggle credit value button in your inventory? So if you're trying to sort of assess what to keep and what to get rid of, that's a pretty cool feature. You can also track items that you want to find out in the world and bring back and put in your vault by using R on your keyboard. That's the default keybind. And when you track an item, it will have a little green eye icon on it whenever you find it in the world. And on the map, it will add a green eye icon to the areas where those items can be often found. And if you hover over the POI, it will also tell you the other stuff that can be commonly found there. And so you can kind of use this to cross-reference where you need to go and make a plan for your next run. Now, I talked about this in my 20 Things the Game Doesn't Tell You video, which I mentioned earlier in this one, but I'm going to reiterate it here because it's so important. Gray weapons are good in this game. It's not all about finding gold weapons or things like that in the same style that you'd see in like a Destiny or something, because in this game, the base weapon itself is always gray, and it's when you add mods and attachments that the weapon becomes a higher rarity. So if you see a gun out in the wild that is a good gun with bad attachments on it, just strip them off, put your purple mods on, and boom, suddenly it's a purple. Or if you see a bad gun out in the wild that has good attachments on it, strip those off, and then you can save those to put on your good gray guns and make them purple. Next, have you ever been left behind by your friends while going to Xfill? It's a really terrible feeling when you just miss that 10-second Xfill window, but there's some tech you can employ here to make sure this doesn't happen to you ever again. So usually the way it will work is if someone steps into the ready Xfill zone, it will start a 10-second countdown. But if everyone inside that little zone steps out of the circle, the countdown will actually completely reset. And that means that if you need an extra few seconds to get there, your team can just step out, wait those couple of seconds for you, and then everyone can get inside. Now, the problem is, if a rook is there or something, sneaking into the Exfil zone, the timer's going to keep going. You need every single player, regardless of if they're on your team or not, to leave the Exfil circle in order for its timer to reset. But let's say you do miss an Exfil, right? Then what? Well, every couple of minutes, you're going to have new Exfils appear on the map, and you'll always be notified when this happens in the top left of the screen. But if all the Exfils have been taken by other players and you've got none remaining, you can just wait for final Exfil. This spawns in when the match timer hits 0, and it gives you 1 extra final minute. The final Exfil will spawn in a reasonably central location on the map. On Outpost, for example, it's usually in the southeast in the kind of tarmac area, and that Exfil will close at the end of that 0 second mark. So regardless of whether you step in it right away or you step in it with 1 second to go, you just need to be there when the timer hits 0 and you'll Exfil successfully. Now, as a little bonus here, what happens if you down in the Exfil circle? And the good news here is, so long as you're not full dead, so you need to be in a downed crawling state, you'll actually still Exfil and keep all of your gear. Now, as an extra tip here, and something to be very, very careful of, you can have items stolen from your backpack while you're Exfilling, and they can even be stolen as you are fading away to dust in that little end game animation, and that'll mean that you lose all of your hard-earned loot. This can be done using a thief drone, and it's a disgusting thing to have happen. It feels so terrible, but you could also use it to steal loot from other players. So the way it works is you pull out Thief's Drone, you wait for the player to Exfil, and then you just start plucking items from them. And because of the Exfil animation, they're much less likely to know they're being dropped on the floor, and it makes for easy pickings. Next, this is just a general recommendation, but you really should not be hoarding items when you start playing Marathon unless they're purple rarity, honestly. Like, it's going to be very easy to just assume that your current gear is something you worked really hard for and you're never going to get it back again unless you hoard it and you have loads of gear fear. But genuinely, you will only progress in this game if you put your current kit at risk to try and strive to get even better stuff. So don't think, oh, I got my first blue shield, I'm going to just put it in my vault and let it sit there. But instead, if you get your first blue shield, perfect, use it in runs and try and get purple shields by using it. That is the way to go, and it will accelerate your progress massively. Next, if you're really hurting for money and credits in the game, one thing you can do is load into a match on Outpost with a free sponsor kit, and ideally do this with a team, and then just try and third-party a group, jack one player of all of their stuff, like I'm doing in the gameplay clip here, and then use all of that loot that you've just grabbed from the other player to then engage with the rest of the gunfight and try and come out on top. I did this and ended up extracting with, across my team, 70k of value, and you can do the exact same thing if you play tactically. And if you want to see the full VOD of us doing this to know how we did it, I'll link that in the description and in the corner of the screen right now. Next, there aren't a huge number of fixed spawns in Marathon, like a lot of stuff does vary game to game, but there are a couple you can make use of. So in Outpost, if you fight your way through to the blue command room and you get to the end, there will always be a guaranteed purple item on this little chair armrest here, and it can be a purple shield or it can be a purple unsent missives item worth 4,000 credits. The crate underneath this area as well, the strongbox, is also often full of amazing loot. And the same can be said for the strongboxes at the end of both the broken wing of Outpost and the command wing. So always loot these boxes when you're moving through these areas. But you also don't need to go into the pinwheel in Outpost to get the best loot. You can also get keycards in the outside areas and then open some of the keycard doors to get into locked rooms. These can contain gold items, and sometimes they'll be gold valuables worth 12,000 credits and up, and other times they'll be gold attachments or other gold gear. Next, this one is a really juicy one. Trap bags are super underrated. A lot of people just use trap bags by placing them near other bodies and hoping that people mistake them for the real thing. But what I do is I line the trap bag up so that it's perfectly clipping over a real body bag, and that way an enemy knows their friend dies there, they try to get the revive, and they just hit the bag every single time. But there is a way to avoid this happening to you, and that's to slow down when you're reviving your teammates. And I don't just mean walk slowly or something, I mean before you interact with the bag, look at what the text says. if it says search container, that is obviously not a revive icon. And similarly, if it's a body bag that didn't belong to your team, it won't say search container when you're searching a real bag. Similarly, when you're opening it, it won't make a fused sound, it will make a zipper sound if it's a real bag, and it won't say searching with a 3 in the name. And so if you see any of these signs, that means that you're about to open a trap bag and you need to get the hell out of there. So that's this list for the time being, but I'd love to make more of these videos, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss them. And if you have any tips you want to share that are hidden tech that we'd all love to know, please leave those in the comments section, and I'll shout you out if I use your tip in a future video. For now though, that's all. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.